I'm doing another video just kind of updating you with the return to keto, and I'd say keto carnivore. Most days I'm eating beef, eggs, laying off the cheese a little bit, not having that every day. So let's go back to, well, this basically is a 3 month trend. If you look, I'm starting around in May at, well, I guess it looks like it's like 193. Year before, when I was consistently doing keto carnivore, I was hovering like 177, 180. So over about a 6 month period, I was not being consistent with keto. A lot of stress happening. My wife has chronic pain. She's had it for 20 years, but it's ramped up over the last 3 years. And there was a doctor that, well, the doctor's her family doctor's an idiot, and really did not fill out medical papers correctly, and the insurance denied us. So it's been a year that we lost a whole year's salary. My wife works in clinical research, and she has a good job, so we lost half of our income because of this doctor. So you could see over here in the middle of the screen around mid-July, there's like a straight line. Now, the blue line shows the trend. The actual white line shows every time I input. Now, just notice all the ups and downs, ups and downs. So don't be frustrated when you might, weigh 5 pounds heavier than you did the day before. We're looking at the trends, but you notice there's a flat line there in July, and that's because I wasn't weighing myself. I got the horrible news that we got screwed over with the insurance in July. So, this diet and entries and being strict, I was really demoralized. I was eating, here and there some carbohydrates, lots of family functions and stuff like that. So I'd have like, 2, 3 days of not really 3 days. Often, like if I cheat, I'll cheat the next day and then I get insulted and I'm back on by the third day. But it wasn't consistent. So what happened is over the last month, I kind of evened out at, between 185 and 180. Keeping in mind, in May 11th, when I first started, and there's a previous video talking about that, I went up to 197. But you see consistently that the trajectory is down. I want to get to 175. Prior to a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, when I was like weight training, doing exercise, I was physically active. 175 made me look too gaunt and too skinny. So I had to add more fat to the ketogenic diet. Not a great amount. I find with the ketogenic diet, especially 4 years ago when it became a fad, they were going a little overboard with the fat. People were consuming a little too much fat, and I think that it just shows that with a ketogenic diet, even if you're consuming a lot of fat, you really don't put on that much weight. It's just that you'll kind of plateau in your weight loss efforts, especially if you have adipose tissue, plenty of fat storage. You're eliminating you're eliminating the carbs, right? The carbohydrates, and that kind of forces your body to switch to fatty acids and ketones. But you could technically be consuming a lot of fat and still be ketogenic, but it's going to slow. It's going to slow. Like, you don't need a lot of fat when you start ketogenic diet when you have a lot of weight to lose. You cut down the carbs, you eat animal sources of food, you eat non-starchy greens and a small amount perhaps of almonds. That's the traditional ketogenic diet. Some berries, trying to stay around 20 grams, which isn't much, but it still allows a little bit of almonds here and there, some fruits, and you can get away with that. The reason that the ketogenic diet also works, it's not completely only about calories. Calories do play a part, obviously, but you have to look at also the hormonal effects that certain macronutrients have. They don't have the same effect on insulin. Carbohydrates, even if you're using longer acting, carbohydrates, it's still the same load of glucose that your body has to handle and shuttle somewhere, whether it's for cellular energy and activity at that moment, or it's going to get stored as fat. Um, so the fat, having a high fat diet with protein from a animal sources where you eat to satiety, you're not counting anything, you're really just eating when you're hungry, and you're eating the amount that satisfies you. So with the ketogenic diet, there's really not a lot of hunger experienced. Once there is nutritional ketosis that occurs, your brain, 80% of that can work on ketones, and the rest is carbohydrates. 20% of your brain absolutely requires carbohydrates and glucose. However, what we have to understand is that our body can produce through gluconeogenesis glucose, and they'll supply when you're not ingesting the carbohydrates, your body will kind of regulate it like a hormone. So it creates glucose, it supplies the brain with that 20% that it requires. However, ketogenic diets, when your brain is fueled by ketones, there is a mood stabilizing effect. It has some promise in certain mood disorders like bipolar as well as depression. Jordan Peterson, who consumes a carnivore diet, had autoimmune issues that cleared up, as well as his depression. So there's a mood stabilizing effect. The ketogenic diet also works for refractory epilepsy. So, especially children can go on a very strict and rigid ketogenic diet where they're consuming also medium chain triglycerides, MCT oil, that produces rapid production of ketones. So, for these people, the ketone level, the beta hydroxybutyrate level in the blood becomes, in a way, uh, the treatment. So they're going to look at a certain target for ketone levels, and they'll just keep on ramping up that level until seizure activity improves. Also, this is used in a lot of the deep sea diving with the Marines. They'll induce nutritional ketosis because these divers, when they're breathing 100% oxygen, they sometimes have seizures underwater, and inducing ketosis helps prevent that. So, as far as cognitive issues, people that are on the ketogenic diet have increased cognition, they're sharper, they have more energy, and that energy doesn't fluctuate, it's more consistent. There's also research that shows that the ketogenic diet has a appetite suppressant. It suppresses appetite quite a bit, which makes your weight loss journey using a keto carnivore diet very, very easy. So I'll just kind of show you. See, right up here, this hill, that's kind of like mid-May. I started that May 11th, and by the time I hit June 11th in the video, I told you I lost 13 pounds in a month, doing extremely strict, actually more carnivore, very little fat, lean steaks. I can't afford T-bone steaks, so I was eating very lean. You eating like a very high protein diet, no carbohydrates, and then skimping on fats long term. That doesn't work. But you can use this for a couple of days at a time. If you really want to lose your weight fast, you can pull off this high protein, normal fat, low carbohydrate diet very easily for a month, and This is an even faster way than the traditional ketosis is to not go overboard on fat. 40 is the average recommendation when they do those RDIs based on 2,000 calories. I might be actually, it might be even 40 to 60. So if you're doing a ketogenic diet, you can consume 40 to 60. Hey, if 40 to 60 in this fat phobic culture, going up by 20 grams, even for people that think that fat is going to cause an issue, it's still just slightly above what the recommended fat for these fat phobic recommendations that we have. So let's look at it. This is kind of a month. How do I get to the numbers? Yeah, here's the numbers. So if you look at last year, I was running, 176, 179, hovering, pretty much during the summer, around 180, 182 averages. That creeped up a little bit. And then after got myself really back, this could be, days where perhaps I am like indulging a little bit or having too many fruits. When I eat berries, man, I love berries. My wife calls it a trough. So sometimes when I was still consistent, I'd really eat a lot of berries with cream. When you're eating a lot of berries, well, those are still, it's a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of fructose, and then I'm putting cream. So you're kind of mixing a high carb, high fat, and that's basically what junk food is. Why it's so fattening is that it's a mix of two kinds of fuel: the non-essential carbohydrates as well as the the essential fat. JD from Garland Farms, he made a comment, and he was talking about like there are some benefits from popping yourself out of ketosis, and I agree with that. I think that there's some uses for carbohydrates, especially if you're an athlete. So if you're replacing your glycogen stores right after weight training, then you can, pull probably 50 grams post training, replenish rapidly those glycogen stores, and then continue with your ketogenic. So they call it kind of like a modified ketogenic diet. What else for that? There's also the benefit of growth hormone. If you're doing intermittent fasting, if you're doing 16 hours, you might get a slight extra burst in your growth hormone during the day. If you're doing one meal a day, or eating two meals within 20 hours, you're getting additional growth hormone spikes, which helps with your body composition and maintaining muscle, or adding muscle. So if you're doing this and you're weight training, I suggest that you do set up your window of eating so that you're still fasted while you train, and then after you eat like a beast after. So it's kind of a how is it? Feast, no, train. So yeah, fast, beast, feast. Okay, so fast before you go into the gym like a beast, and then after you feast after. This will create additional growth hormone spikes that's really good for you guys who like to, get pumped and jacked in the gym, or if you're a serious athlete. So you still see that I'm maintaining, and then oops, something went wrong in December, where I started slacking off, and you see that I'm no longer at 180, 182 average. We're creeping up to, over here. Let's see. All of a sudden, boom, 195, 192 average, 189 average, 190, 193, hovering 195. And I kind of hovered closely to 195 for that 6 month period. So, and like I said, don't I wasn't completely off keto, but I was not consistent with it. So I basically climbed up about 15 pounds. And those 15 pounds were lost almost in a month of doing a normal fat, severely serious restriction in carbohydrates, and concentrating on. I mean, look, I was popping in eggs here and there, some cheese, but like I was really consistently eating beef mostly. All right, guys, that's my update. Thanks a lot. See you around.